Hello everyone and welcome back to Kentucky Garden Gal. I am Nancy and we do have several new subscribers, so I kind of want to reintroduce myself to all of you. I live in South Central Kentucky and I have been in my home for more than 30 years where I garden. But this channel is about more than just gardening. It's about our homes, it's about our lives, and this is October's gardening tips. And we also want to talk about being prepared, some things that we can do just to be a little bit prepared in case of an emergency. But then I want to end on a happy note, and I want to talk about the love letters that I have. It's a subscription service that I have been getting in the mail, so I want to share a little bit of that with you. So let's start with our gardening tips. So it is October. We are a Zone 7. So chances are you are going to mow for the last time in October. Typically, our first freeze or first frost is October the 15th. So if you're like me and you have an app on your phone where you can do like a 10-day outlook, I do check that daily to kind of see where we are. And we've had very warm temperatures. It's very warm this weekend, like shorts and t-shirt weather, hot. But I think we're heading into a little change. And one of the things that I've noticed is that we're going to have a couple of nights where the low is going to be 46. So what that tells me is the tropical plants that I have out, my house plants, I want to go ahead and bring those in. I don't want them to be out when it's any lower than 60. So keep an eye on that, and if you have your house plants or tender tropicals, make sure you get those in before it gets a little cooler. So another thing that we want to think about in our garden for October are spring bulbs. This is the time of year that when you go out, you're going to see all of the tulips and the daffodils, things like that. And for us, we try to have those in the ground by the end of October. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule because you can still plant your bulbs anytime the ground isn't frozen. So for us in a Zone 7, if we're having a warm winter, we may not have any frozen ground whatsoever. And even if your ground is somewhat frozen and you can't go out and physically dig the soil to plant your bulbs, you can always put them in containers and they do beautifully like that. So you want to start looking out for your fall bulbs. Another thing that we want to think about doing is having a fall garden. And I put this up on the Facebook page and I said, how many people are planning a fall garden? And several said, not this year. And you know what? I wanted to talk a little bit about that because they are exactly right. If you are worn out, this has been a particularly hard year for gardeners with the intense heat and the watering. So if you are like, you know what, stick a fork in me, I am done, it is perfectly fine. It is your garden, and if your garden is a chore, you're probably doing too much. It should be bringing you joy and pleasure and a relief from just the everyday stresses in life. So don't feel like you have to plant that fall garden. You do what you enjoy. And I see this so often where gardeners have become overwhelmed with either the weeds or the watering or pest. And you know what, friends? It's okay. It's okay to pluck that plant out and throw it away and just say, you know what, we'll try again next year. But really concentrate on letting your gardens bring you joy. So another thing that we can think about this time of year is direct sowing seeds. And that is something that is fairly new to me because I was kind of this start everything in late winter. You know, you have a big spring and a big summer, and then kind of the garden's over. So I have moved my garden into more of a 4-season garden where I have something of interest in my garden all season long. And right now, the dahlias, oh my goodness, the dahlias are absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to put a picture up that I took yesterday in my garden with this dahlia. It is just stunning, bringing me so much pleasure. So when I began talking about direct sowing, what I'm talking about is going out to your garden. If you have an area that you want particular flowers in next year, 2025, summer 2025, there are seeds that you can sow now. And I'm going to put a list of those up on the screen, and I'll leave them up in case you want to take note or write them down or whatever. But what you do, how to prepare for that, you go out, you clean your area. You can't sow in weeds or grass or anything like that. You go out, you clean your area, get your bed area, whatever you're sowing in, you want to prepare it. And so you're going to put your seeds in, and you're going to lightly cover them, tamp them down so that the wind doesn't blow them, cover them slightly so the birds don't pick them up. And then you want to make sure and water those in good, and kind of note through the fall and the winter, if you're outside and you're, for us, it's watering the chickens. Go ahead and just water that area that you've sown some seeds in, and make sure you put some type of marker there so that you know what you've sown. But plants that need, or seeds rather, that need a stratification process, which is going through the dormant cold spell, this is an excellent time to sow them. And for us, it is poppies, it's primrose, it's foxglove, just so many things. Earlier this week, I went out by my front flower beds, and I have quite a few irises there, which are gorgeous, but it's such a short season for the irises. So what I did, I cut them all back, and then I cleaned out the beds really good, and I'm going to go and sprinkle primrose seeds in there. I think it would just be lovely to see those, the pink primrose, just, which they'll be shorter than the irises, so it'll work out fine, but I want them kind of over my sidewalk. I think just it looks so welcoming, and that's one of those flowers that once you plant it, you're going to have it. So I want to try to get primrose started this year for 2025 by my front entrance. That is down by the sidewalk. So let's now move into the topic of being prepared. And the reason I want to talk about this, of course, we're all aware of the devastation caused by Hurricane Helene. It is right in the area. Luckily for us, we got a pretty good dose of rain. Not a lot of damage here, but the people of North Carolina especially, and there's towns in East Tennessee that are just gone. Newport, Tennessee was completely underwater. And these are things, what I'm going to talk about. There was a reality show on TV, and it was about preppers, and it showed these really extreme people, and they were preparing for the end of the end of the world or whatever. So it kind of gave people who want to be prepared kind of a bad name. And I've done some videos. If you look back in my playlist, I do have some videos on this channel of things that I have done when I first started this channel. And these are things that my grandmother taught me. This is how I was raised. And these are things that I learned from my grandmother more. And this was just a way of life. This was a way of life for us. This is what we did, you know, whether it is being able to grow your own food, have chickens for eggs. But today, I want to talk about just how to get started with that. And it's really something as simple as thinking, if there was a power outage, what would I need? Well, I would need candles and I would need matches. You know, if you have a lot of extra money laying around, you would want a generator, things like that. But just start looking around your house and start thinking, you know, what would happen if there was an emergency? How could I be a little bit more prepared? So one of the things that I think is so important is have a written list of telephone numbers. I joke in my family that my sister's number is the only phone number I know, so if I ever go to jail, she's the only person I can call to come bail me out because that's the only phone number I remember. So make sure you have a list of people's phone numbers, emergency contacts. Have an emergency plan for your family. You know, the way that these floods occurred in North Carolina, these folks just did not have, you know, much time to prepare. And it's something as simple as saying, if there was a fire, Cameron and I know to get out, and then there's a tree that we're going to meet up at. You go directly to that spot, and that's where everybody meets. So it's simple things like that. Having some food on hand that maybe everybody thinks of beans and rice. And yes, you know, you don't want to starve to death, but you probably don't want to eat beans and rice for 10 days in a row. So, you know, throw in some cans of tuna, things like that. And what's so good about your condiments is that they last for a long time. You want to make sure you've got some board games, so a deck of cards. You know, if you have young children, they're going to get bored pretty fast, and that's where the board games and the cards come in handy. Another thing that I personally do, I never let my gas tank get below half a tank. Half a tank for me is it's time to go fill up. You know, keep your car full of gas so that if you need to evacuate, I do carry what is called a bug out bag in my car. I have one in both of my vehicles, and that is just something where I have a list of phone numbers, I have some food, water, and I have enough that if that was all I had, I could survive. Cameron and I could survive on that for a couple of days. And I just went to a Goodwill, picked up a good strong backpack, and you know, just start feeling it. You don't, and the thing about it is, if you don't have these things already around your house, you can go to yard sales and find things, you know, flashlights, batteries, things like that. You just want to kind of stay one step ahead and not let yourself just completely be caught off guard, you know, just sort of be ready, you know, and Lord, you know, help us that we never have to use any of this. But this was a perfect example. Saturday night, we were cooking dinner. I had made steaks and baked potatoes, made a salad, and I had just put a peach cobbler in the oven when the power went off. So, you know, first of all, it's kind of shocking, and you're like, what in the world? You know, what's happened? I figured it was a squirrel. We have a lot of squirrels here. Turns out it was a squirrel that had, you know, gotten where it shouldn't have been. But I was able to immediately go. I had my candles, I had my matches, and we were able to eat dinner. You know, we could sit down and eat our dinner. And I think the power was only off, it was under 30 minutes, maybe like 26 minutes, something like that. But there was no reason to panic because we had our dinner, we had a way, to see. We just kept the oven door closed, and then when the electricity came back on, I just reset the time for the peach cobbler. So, for us, it wasn't that big of a deal. We just were like, okay, we don't have power. We didn't know what was wrong, how long it was going to be out, but, we were able to eat, we were able to see, so, it just wasn't very stressful for us, I guess you might say. And that's the exact reason that you want to have some preparedness in your life, is so if something does happen, you're just not completely stressed out, and you're like, okay, well, I've got this, we've got this, we've got that, and to me, it's comforting. If you're like me, you look at the headline news and it's very stressful. It can be scary. And just having some level of preparedness, for me, takes some of the anxiety away. When we went through COVID, we were prepared. I mean, honestly, I don't think I bought toilet paper the entire time through COVID, because I was toilet paper and paper towels. I think I was that stocked up. But, things like that, where people are going out, unfortunately, sometimes there's price gouging, but I didn't have to worry about it. And my family could say, hey, have you got this? Yep. Chances are I could pull it out of somewhere. So that's just what I wanted to say to you, my friends, to be a little bit prepared, not trying to scare anybody, nothing like that. Just sort of think ahead and see what you can come up with. And if you want to, like I said, you can go look at my playlist. I have a whole playlist on being prepared. Pinterest is a great place to look, and it just gives you some ideas. A manual can opener. Do you have a manual can opener in your kitchen drawer? Because if you don't, and the power goes out, how are you going to open that can of tuna fish? And you can go to the Dollar Tree and buy them for $1.25. So make sure, you at least have that much, that you have a way to feed yourself and your family, your pets. You have a specific area that you're going to meet at. You're going to have gas in your vehicle. You're going to have phone numbers in case you don't have cell phone service, or in case you don't have access to your contact list in your cell phone, that you do have those phone numbers. Okay, so it looks like this video is going on 18 minutes, and let's talk about something happy. So I introduced you all to this service, and I had been looking at this for a long time, and they're rather expensive. Like, I was seeing them around the $200 mark. Now, one year I did get Cameron one of these for historical documents, and I think I found that on special, and honestly, it was a little over his head at the time, but I kept all of them. I have them preserved so that when he's ready, we can go back over those, and I think he would appreciate them a little bit more. But this was something that I wanted just for myself. And I turned 60 this year, and I've really started focusing on self-care and how important that is. When I was taking care of my dad in hospice, and the chaplain came, and the one thing that I remember him telling me, he said, "You cannot pour from an empty cup." And that just really hit a nerve with me, because it's true. You have to be full yourself in order to give to others. So since that time, I really have been searching for things like that. You know, what brings me joy, what brings me happiness. And I think that, you know, my life is just more full of joy, which is a goal that I want. So let's get back to this. So this was the first letter, and I had picked this one, and I had found some discount codes for it. I read the first letter. I think I did a video on it. If not, it's on the Facebook page. But it introduces you to a story, and now you can, there's different, there's maybe 5 or 6 different storylines. So whatever your interest is, of course, I love the Victorian love stories, so that's the one I chose. This is what the envelopes look like. Front and back are decorated, and it says, I love how it says, kindly deliver into the care of, and then my name. So this is the third letter, and this is what they look like. This one, and you'll notice, these are written in cursive. So all of these children that aren't learning to read cursive writing, I don't know what they're going to do in the future if they need to read, you know, like the Declaration, that you know what your constitutional rights are. You need to learn cursive. But these letters are all in cursive, and this happened to be a rather long letter. So it's front, back, and then another page, and then look how pretty that is. So, and I just take a time when I get my letters. I wait until I have time to open them, which usually involves a quiet place, a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, and then I can just sit down and really enjoy the story that's unfolding before my eyes. So this is what came in this one, and they're all a little bit different, but they're just so pretty. And then this was, in this particular story, a Duke has passed away. So that is what the announcement in the newspaper would have looked like. And then they always send postcards that if you want to use them, you can. If you want to save them, you can. Now, they offer a really pretty box. I think, I'm going to say it was maybe just a little under $40. But what I did, I found this tin, and I picked it up at Goodwill. I'm sure I didn't pay more than $1 for it, but it should hold all of my letters, and it's just so pretty. I actually have this sitting in the living room, and you know, it's such a joy. I get these letters twice a month, so I know I'm going to have 2 letters a month to go in here. And I also wanted to mention, I pick up tins anytime I see them at yard sales or Goodwills, because you can store things in here, especially paper, and the mice can't get to it. I learned that the hard way at my dad's house. So many of our family documents have unfortunately, the mice have gotten to them. Now, several years ago, I found them. They were just stored in a manila envelope, and I got to them. I took them out, and they're all in tins. So, you know, they're preserved from here on out. But just keep that in mind, that if you have things that you want to be sure will last and be protected, pick up the metal tins and put them in. So that's what I have to share with you this week. I appreciate all of the new subscribers, all of you that leave comments, and it's just a joy in my life to be able to share my home and my life with you. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.